TE Talks with Guides is a weekly podcast for lovers of history, travel, and all things Italian. Welcome back, everyone, to TE Talks, sponsored by Through Eternity Tours. I'm your host, Rob Allen, and on TE Talks, we talk with some of the most fascinating people who make a living out of being wonderful storytellers. Now, I just want to say, if you enjoyed listening to this podcast or some of our others, please remember to write a review and give us a 5-star ratings because it helps us. It's extremely helpful to get the word out and let other people know about who we are and what we do. Today's subject, we are going to be talking about the wonderful city of Verona. And if you are curious about visiting Verona, if you have any questions about Verona, please do not hesitate to write back to us at office@througheternity.com. That's OFFICE@THROUGHETERNITY.com. Gosh, that was a mouthful. Anyway, today we have our lovely guest, Monica, joining us. Ciao, Monica.
Ciao, how are you?
Good. How are you doing?
Fine, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for finding the time to be available to do this podcast. Now, everybody, I just want to give you a heads up. We'll talk a little bit about Monica in a minute, but that Monica and I got to meet each other for the first time when we were doing the Tea Destinations videos, because we started to expand to go into the lovely city of Verona. I had never been there myself. And I have to tell you, it was one of the most beautiful cities I've been to in Italy. And I think great thanks to that is Monica. Grazie, Monica.
It was a pleasure.
It was so much fun because she and I met with Dylan, and she took the whole afternoon to take us around to show us some of the most beautiful sights of the city. So, Monica, can you tell me a little bit about yourself? Now, I know you're not directly from Verona, but you love Verona. And how long have you lived there? How long have you been a guide?
I live in Verona since 1985. I am guide since 1992, exactly because when I settled down coming from Bolzano up in the South Tyrol at the border with Austria, for me, Verona was one of the several towns. And when I had to settle down, I had to find a reason why I had to stop here and not drive elsewhere. And I started to ride my bicycle through the medieval lanes, through the town, discovering more than a Veronese itself, in order to understand whether this was a good place or not. And I simply fell in love with the town because there is a little bit of everything. And then I decided, when I had the first chance, to attend the examination for guide. That's it.
Well, there you go. And it took 7 years for them to give out that exam. They do not, for those of you who don't.
Was the first time it was possible to pass the examination.
Yeah, exactly. I don't think many people know of our listeners who have probably done tours with us. They don't know a lot of times many cities don't offer these exams, and they're very, very difficult to pass. In fact, the last one that we had in Rome was in 2015. Monica, it was so wonderful. You and I just watched the video together because it was kind of rehashing it. It was the perfect day. The weather was splendid in late September. The light was golden, and you really made this place so special. And I loved seeing it. And as you were saying, Verona, and I remember you even saying this in the beginning, Verona has a bit of everything. And of course, I loved it because not only one thinks of Verona and they think of the world famous amphitheater because it probably has the amphitheater, like the Colosseum. It's one of the best preserved amphitheaters and therefore one of the most famous, and they have concerts in it. But Verona is much, much more. That's where we met. That's where we started. But I liked it because, of course, it was an ancient city of Rome. It was an ancient Roman city. So I guess tell us a little bit about that, and tell us a little bit about all of those lovely things that we got to see during the day.
If we meet on the main square, which is the Brass Square, BRA, where exactly the Roman amphitheater was built, we start from a good introduction to the main periods of the local history. because as you said, Verona is a very old Roman town founded in the 1st century BC, whereas the arena is dating back to the 1st century AD.
Sure.
But this is the first important historical period, even the longest, because until the 5th century AD, with the fall of the Western Roman Empire, we can speak of a link with the Romans. This is why Verona has still today the same orientation of the streets as it was in the Roman age. And we have widespread in town many monuments or remains of monuments, like the gates, the Roman theater, Triumphal Arch, and the most important monument is the Roman amphitheater. Then on the same square, you see the medieval city walls dating back to the 12th century. And this is the second important period, which is actually the only real age of independence of Verona, which has been divided into two, high middle age and low middle age. High middle age with all the populations coming from north, which settled down like Goths, Lombards, Franks of Charlemagne, even if we hardly see something right now. And then the 12th century, when Verona developed as free, self-governed town with a Lord Major, and the 13th, 14th century, when we were under one family only, whose name was della Scala or Scaligeri. And thanks to this family, we have the medieval lanes, so we have a wonderful castle. So we are a Roman town, but we have a medieval city center. And then we have not to forget that after this period, when the family, after a while, was obliged to leave, Verona lost its independence. And because of its excellent geographical location, plain, hills, mountains, and a navigable river, everybody was interested to control it. And so we have the third longer period of our history, which are the 400 years of dominion by the Republic of Venice. Yes. So widespread in time, you see their symbol, the winged lion, that confirmed their presence. And then being a very good age in commerce and arts, you have wonderful palaces, dwellings with frescoed facades, very interesting decorations that had the aim of underlining the importance of Verona, even if under Venice considered a foreign government. And after we have a short period by Napoleon, you hardly see anything, and then the last, which are the years of the Habsburgs. Due to the geographical location, we were the southern part of the big empire. Actually, for them, the entrance from south, and this is why you still today see in town barracks, fortresses, and excellent city walls, fortified and strengthened every time by everybody, and especially by the Habsburgs. And so Verona, as you told me in advance, has a little bit of everything. And if you start a journey through Italy, and you start from Verona, you have a brief introduction to what you're going to see next. And if you come back from a tour in Italy, before leaving, you have a brief summary of what you saw. Not many so important like what you see in Rome, in Florence, in Venice, but this recalls you. And this is what everybody tells me every time they leave.
Well, I mean, one could tell why it is so very, very special. What I adore about what you do, and you've just, encapsulated it for everybody. And when I do tours in Rome, whenever I go to the ancient city, I give them what I call the oversimplified history lesson of Rome to talk about what we're going to be seeing. And you've just done this so perfectly for everybody listening. I think we get through, and another thing that I love about ancient cities, and let's just clarify, let's just put this out here. I know the Venetians won't like me saying this. Verona is a city that is much older than Venice, right?
Oh, that's right.
But it's fascinating to think, we talked about, and we started from the ancient world. Then you showed me the walls, which I adore. I adore the walls. You said that there were sets of walls. The city expanded. Then we have parts of the ancient city peppering through, and we'll talk about a little bit about those things, because all these things that we've touched on in the video, it's lovely because you see the beautiful marble stone, and you know that is ancient. And there are some amazing things that one sees, and the situation of where the city is. And I just also want to add something else, is that If you guys don't know, where Rome is in the middle, and Italy is such a fascinating country in and of itself that all of these city-states are very, very different, and the cities are very different. Verona today is a very, very wealthy city, I think, and it's not a city that just survives on tourism, does it? It's a very well-preserved city. It's maintained well. It's seen. I mean, that was my impression. The people and Padua both are. The Veneto region, aside from Venice, which I think really is about tourism now, these cities have thriving industries around them, connected to them. And it is quite clear. And that's another reason why it's so stunningly beautiful. And that it's surrounded on three sides by a river, if I'm not mistaken. Correct?
Two sides, because Verona was founded within one of the two banks of the river Adige. So it was embraced, actually, on two sides by river and two sides by the city walls. The image you have of the Roman town that I saw in the video, if you notice it carefully, you observe it, you see this. You see two sides river and two sides city walls. And the arena outside.
Yes, we use those images. Those are your images, actually. You showing us on the maps when we met up.
It very good because it's more useful than 100 words.
Exactly. This is absolutely true. And I love the fact that we got to see the Adige River, because you said at that time of year for the geography that it had a special, it was such a beautiful kind of blue color. It was cleaner than usual, I guess, that you said, because I think the snow wasn't melting down from the mountains going into the water, I guess. But you said that it can change through the years. But at that time of year, it was just so beautiful to see the water. And I love the fact that you would take us on some bridges. So, from where we met, we went in to see a castle. I believe that it was connected to the family. Yes. And you took us up on that bridge. Those bridges, how many? I mean, there are a few of these bridges that are still rather ancient, aren't they? Or at least that one definitely was.
The bridge we saw, the bridge of the castle, has been rebuilt after World War II with the same bricks found in water, and following the original design.
Lovely.
And so we can say that it's ancient because they kept the design and they tried to use all of what they could find in the water. The other bridge is the Roman stone bridge.
Yes.
Same thing, was rebuilt after World War II, but with the same philosophy. So the part out of stone, the stones date back to the Roman age. The part out of brick are the bricks dating back to the age of the Scala family. And this is why it's still today called Roman Stone Bridge. The others have been all built after World War II in modern ways. So we have just two left.
Now, I think that was the last bridge you took us to, was the Roman bridge.
Yes, near the Roman theater.
Lovely. That's right. We did get to see the Roman theater. Oh, God, this is a good thing to remind me, because I'll be working on the text for the video this week. Yes, and then I remember also then we got to see how the industry was thriving, and when Venice got through, it's lovely. I will point this out to people because we did the video with you and then with Padua, where the Venetians have their own branding in modern terms, right? Because their patron saint was Saint Matthew, and his symbol, which is everywhere from Rome all throughout Italy and Europe, is the lion with the wings, the flying lion. And so that was Venice's brand of saying, this is part of our reign, our territory, and they have it predominantly in one of the main squares of the city. Now, to talk a little bit about some of the peppered ancient ruins, there is that lovely arch, and you were specific about the arch because there was a name written on the arch.
Davi. D-A-V-I. It was a very outstanding, a very important family of the Roman Verona, dating back to the 1st century AD. And why could they have something like that? Because they financially supported the building of the water piping in town. And this was something very important. And in order to thank them, they had the right of having something similar. Other theories say that probably these could belong to their grave. But anyway, there are two different aspects and both could be accepted. Because it's true, the archaeologists discovered a big inscription where it was written how many sesterzi the family Gavia gave in order to do this. And so you can accept both theories. That this is part of their tomb, but at the same time, the arch was a way in order to thank them for what they did.
Ah, very, very interesting. So it wasn't per se a triumphal arch, but it was an arch, a memorial arch, maybe, or an arch of a gesture of thanks. What I loved about it also, because you don't get to really do this in Rome, is you can walk through it. You know, we walked under it, and it has a beautiful pavement underneath. And I remember that you and I were talking about
basalt stones that date to the 2nd century BC, because the arch was not where we saw it. The arch was exactly near the castle in the middle of the street until the arrival of Napoleon. Then Napoleon removed it because he wanted the castle as his main barracks. And the elegant streets with the beautiful dwellings as a street reserved to his troops parades. And the arch in the middle simply stopped everything. So it was removed. But then later on in the 30s, 1932, the stones were discovered, and it was possible to build it exactly where we saw it. But while removing everything, they even removed a small part of this Postumia road, which are the black stones that you saw. And the Postumia road dates back to the 2nd century before Christ. So it's true that Verona was built in the 1st century before Christ. But the first link of the Romans with us was the opening of this huge and important road called Postumia from Genova, northwest of Italy, to Aquileia, northeast, a kind of military and commercial road in the 2nd century before Christ. So first of all, Romans came here because we were just involved in this. And 1 century later, it was decided, because of the hills, because of the navigable river, this was very good for the Romans, that Verona could be even founded as town.
Yeah, this is great. It's just it's reminding me of the day that we had, because now I remember from there we started to talk about the wealthy families, and it was a sign of their wealth was that they would have painted, frescoed facades of the buildings. And so you really, I think, enjoyed showing us a few of those as they went along the way, and we got to capture some on the tapes. What were these wealthy families doing what did they make their wealth on?
Most of them were merchants.
Merchants.
And thanks to this, they had their wealth, and then with a good marriage, they could even become noble. And so, yes, but the base of their wealth was commerce, was trade.
Of course, and it never hurts to get a lovely wife.
Wood depends, but Verona has a very good position. So with the relations, for the relations between north and south, west and east, was central.
Trading and merchants. Okay, of course, it makes absolute sense. And then I remember when we were going from there, we peppered through those areas, and then we were getting up to a main piazza, and then there was another ancient. It was almost like a double archway to go into the piazza. Do you remember? And it's all white. It's like
the Borsari Gate.
Yes.
Was built in the 1st century BC out of bricks, and then in the Imperial Age rebuilt, as we saw it, out of limestone, what we call Veronese marble, but it's not real marble, but it's more elegant, surely.
Beautiful.
That gate, now we only have the external part of it, because at the beginning this was a building, was a kind of barracks, with one facade towards the town and one facade towards the countryside, and this is what remains. And in the Roman age, it was consecrated to Jupiter, and only in the Middle Age it was turned into what it's today, because in Middle Age we had new city walls, and so the Roman city walls lost their importance, and that facade placed in the middle lost its importance. But at the end of the street there was the market square, and they decided to use that part of the gate as entrance to the market square, opening the customer office for the merchants coming through with their goods. They had, first of all, to pay duties to the bursari, these customers called like that because of the leather bags where they collected the money, and then once paid, they could go to the Herb Square and sell their goods.
Wow.
The name of the gate is this, has been changed.
Fascinating. It was fascinating. And of course, from there, and it's amazing because you can see it on the video, we dealt with, you were very kind for us because, of course, many people know about the history of Romeo and Juliet. And so you took us to these places of the supposed belief of the houses connected to the families of Juliet and Romeo. And what was amazing is that during the pandemic, during the time when there was lockdown and people weren't traveling, we have a shot that people line up, and the line was like going to the Vatican museums, it almost seemed, to go to this presumed house where Juliet's garden was, or the courtyard, and that then they have people going up to the balcony. Lovely girls love to go up and people would take their photographs, or that there was a statue of Juliet as well. But it's always great to know people who know people, and you were so wonderful, and it was such a little interesting experience to have, because there was a shop around and that you knew people in the shop and you asked them. And so we got to skip the line. We got up there into a place that was even better. It was the upper floor of the shop, which was closed to the public, right? We won't tell you what the shop is because I know it's a special secret, but that you got us to go and take a whole view of the courtyard and seeing people going out onto the balcony. And that was even better than waiting in line to go up to that balcony, because you could see the balcony itself. And me being a ham actor that I am, of course, I had to recite Juliet's lines in that spot.
The only solution.
The only solution. Good thing I didn't have a blonde wig on. Anyway, but that was really quite special to have been able to do that. Thank you again so much. But I mean, it's just like, even from all that point, I have to say to people that there was, and I think we were able to capture a bit of it, there seemed to be this kind of vibrancy in the city that was just kind of special to me. It was a Saturday, but they were having these special festivals going on because people couldn't gather really to be together to listen to concerts. Strangely enough, go figure, in Verona, a lot of apartments have balconies in them. So there were all of these balconies lining throughout the city where they had people performing all kinds of music. It was so beautiful. I mean, we were hearing jazz, we were hearing classic violins, we were able to capture some of this. Is that something that Verona does often, or was that really unique for that day?
No, this was the first time they tried to organize something similar called balconscenico, not palcoscenico, but balconscenico. And then you could read on Monday in the newspaper, it was a great success. And I think that are going to try to organize this every first weekend of October. But we have no confirmation about this. But the first effort, the idea was great. Everybody was happy with this. And why not? Now, we have to see whether the next first weekend of October we find them playing or not. The idea
you have to let me know, because I mean it just really made something special. I mean, music is so important. Yeah, it was. I thought it was a terrific idea. And then I think what was also interesting is that then we were close to the main piazza, where we'll talk about this later, but there is that famous statue there. And then there's this kind of, I believe it is a bone of whale, you said, that was hanging from an arch.
Yes.
But right beyond that piazza, then there was this kind of procession going on. There were all these young men dressed in color garbs and drumming as if they were, carrying the banners for what? Could you tell us a little bit about that, what that was?
Then this was connected to that feast. So nothing special going on. This was all was connected to this in order to have the weekend livelier. And
It certainly did. It was so funny because you could really feel it. You could really feel everybody was there and everybody was very, very excited about it, I thought.
Even in order to stress upon the idea that Verona is not only the town of Romeo and Juliet, but is even the town of music.
Oh, yes.
Because
absolutely.
of the opera festival. And this is connected to music. So,
of course. So beautiful. So lovely and so beautiful. Can you just, I guess, to wrap up a little bit, since we're giving everybody just a taste of it, I hope they're understanding. I mean, I am so thoroughly enthusiastic about Verona and think that people should really come and see it, because it's also a way to get away from, if you get tired of the crowds of Venice, it's a lovely day trip from Venice. And it's also, how far away is it from Milan to get to Verona?
You need by train about 1 hour and a half, 1 hour and 10. It depends which kind of train you catch. So by car, about 2 hours, 1 hour 45. We are exactly in the middle between Milan and Venice. Milan, Verona, and Venice. 1 hour and a half, 1 hour and a half, more or less.
How special is that? I mean, the fact is, I mean, really, everyone, you should understand that it's a very, very, very special city. And it's so different from Venice and so different from Milan, which can also, both of them have their own kind of type of chaos. And I mean, I just felt that there was just this kind of tranquility going in there. So absolutely worthwhile for a visit. Could you tell us just a little bit about that main piazza with the statue? Because I remember there was a history about the statue with the woman in the crown.
Actually, squares of the core of the city center, the square 4 meters over the remains of the Roman Forum, which is the Piazza delle Erbe, the market square, with a wonderful medieval fountain in the middle. Then the Lion of Venice, beautiful palaces, and then the other, which was for a very long period the political center of Verona, which is called Piazza dei Signori, or Piazza Dante, because of the presence of Dante Alighieri. Dante is statue in the middle, because Dante, within his life, during his life, was obliged to leave Florence because of political problems he had, because of his ideas, and was hosted by the family Scala for about 5 years. And actually, last year we celebrated the 700 years of his death with congresses, exhibitions, open-air exhibitions, and that you could, with big posters where you could follow the footsteps of Dante, read parts of the Divina Commedia, or simply going on following the numbers of these informations, and then you could leave Verona as he lived when he was here, or historians say how he could have lived here.
Very, very interesting. That one last thing, I guess, is if you, and thank you so much for this. This is really wonderful to relive this. Makes me want to go back again. Is the whalebone that's hanging from that arch at that piazza?
Over there, if you look into Google, internet, you find so many theories, but the most accepted one is that along that part of the square, you could have seen merchants of spices selling their goods. And selling spices meant to sell something very exotic, like a whale could be exotic for us. And so that rib could be the name of one of those drugstores. And still today, nearby, there is a pharmacy, exactly on the same site where in the past there was a pharmacy. Yes, so this is the most beloved
history of this. That's fascinating. So it was a kind of way to indicate that there were these exotic wares that were being sold, specifically connected to.
Yes, because towards the north, where we have our mountains, we have about 1 hour away from Verona, Bolca, which is internationally renowned for the fossils. And so that rib belongs to a fossil of a whale.
Wow. Amazing. Well, so much that we got to see in just that little bit of time, doing a half day. We came out from Padua and then we went there, and then the next day we went to Venice. But I mean, it was just so memorable. I think that anyone who questions or thinks about what they want to do, because many people come to Italy many times, they fall in love. Well, they should come and live or visit at least Verona. It seems to me such a lovely city to spend a good amount of time in, not even just for a day, but, for a few days even. So lovely. And I hope that a lot of people will love to come out and check it out and come to visit you and to be able to do tours, because you were so very, very kind to take us around without even having met me before. It was a really, truly great experience. I know a lot of guides. I've done a lot of tours, and I truly, truly had a spectacular day. And thank you so much for doing this and coming to talk to me about it as well. And I hope to see you very soon. I hope to get back to Verona very soon.
I'm here.
Lovely, lovely. Ci sentiamo presto.
Grazie.
Ciao, Monica.
Ciao, grazie. Ciao a tutti.
Grazie. Ciao, ciao.
Thank you for listening to our TE Talks with Guides. We have a new episode every Wednesday. Please subscribe to get an alert when each podcast comes out. Rate us and tell people how you enjoyed it, and share it on Instagram, Facebook, or Twitter. Most importantly, if you enjoyed it, send us a feedback about the show. Also, if you are curious about what some of these people and places we talked about look like, you can subscribe to our YouTube channel and watch the video on this podcast, where we have inserted special images for you to further enjoy the story.